Doom Patrol returned this week to our app screens with a brand new episode entitled Space Patrol. I'm Cape Joel, and this is the video series where I give my thoughts and feelings on the episode that was, while also shouting out any comic book Easter eggs I can find. So with that out of the way, let's get to it, shall we? So then, picking up moments from where the last episode left off, Dorothy is horrified by her latest wish and ends up running away from home, while poor Jane is in a wax-induced coma following the Candlemaker's attack on the underground. Both Baby Doll and Sun Daddy seem to be dead, and all the other personalities are unsure as to what to do next, as it would seem nothing like this has ever actually happened to them before. Also, we all know why Baby Doll got the axe, but I wonder, did they choose Sun Daddy because it was one of the more overpowered personalities and also probably one of the more expensive to actually render on screen? Just a thought. Jane actually makes some really solid observations this episode on whether or not any of them can actually truly die in a literal sense. After all, their personalities, some come, some go, some lay dormant for years. They are, after all, just constructs, with only K being real in a metaphorical sense. In fact, the only thing that even comes close to a dead persona is Miranda, but she willingly killed herself by jumping into the trauma well. This Jane story offered up a lot of big ideas and plenty of existential fat to chew on as the viewer, but more on this later. The Chief ends up recruiting Cliff to try and find his missing daughter, and this really ends up being as close as these two have actually worked together in a very long time. Now, it wouldn't be Doom Patrol if something crazy didn't happen to throw a wrench into what was already a far-out situation. You see, the mansion gets visited by the pioneers of the uncharted 1950s-style astronauts who were sent into space by Niles himself to research a time abnormality, as all part of a bigger scheme to gain immortality for himself. In fact, it was called the Immortus Project, no doubt yet another reference to classic 60s Doom Patrol villain General Immortus. Dorothy ends up stealing these guys' spaceship in an attempt to get as far away from Earth and her problems as possible. I love this shot right here because it totally reminds me of the glass elevator bit from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and given Dorothy's song choice just a few episodes ago, I'm sure it was totally on purpose. Larry, returning from his disastrous family reunion in the last episode, is forced to stay behind and stall the space people while Niles goes to be a parent. Little did Larry know, though, he ends up biting off way more than he can chew, as one of these cosmonauts turns out to be Velena Vostok, a woman comic readers will know to be the Negative Woman. She joined the second version of the Doom Patrol team and inherited Larry's own negative spirit. The show plays her origin a little bit differently, but I think it works. Yes, she knew the Chief and she came in contact with the same bigger negative entity as Larry, but unlike him, she lives in harmony with her spirit and is even able to control the radiation. A major juxtaposition to poor Larry, who can't seem to control anything about his life or himself. Velena feels bad and wants to help Negative Man find his own type of zen by abandoning the past and moving on, but Larry just can't do it, but not for the reasons you might think. As far as Larry sees it, suffering is just part of the human condition, and his pain is one of the last things that still connects him to his family and his old life, and without it he would just be, well, a cold alien drifting through space. And that as long as he still draws breath, he's going to be the type of man that mends connections, not buries them. It's all great stuff, and Bomber really shines as a man trying to wrestle with some damn huge emotions. Not too bad for a character who we can barely see emote because of the bandages, am I right? Rita once again ends up getting what could probably be called the fun side story of this episode, involving her continued attempt to try and get back into the world of acting. We knew that she was attempting to get a role in the community production of Our Town. Little did she know, though, that it's not the original Our Town, it's a play about the town she lives in, the one that got destroyed and disappeared by the Doom Patrol. Meaning that her and all of her friends have been cast as villains in this story. Everything comes to a real head, though, when Rita ends up talking with the woman who's going to be playing her. Turns out this actress really did her homework on Rita and is able to read her character better than Rita is able to read herself, and she really cuts to the core of this poor woman. Once again, the acting and staging here is amazing as Rita desperately tries to keep her shape, even though you can tell she's super suffering on the inside. Cyborg's major storyline saw some small but noticeable movement this week as he attempted to help his girlfriend deal with her post-mechanical implant pain. Wouldn't you know it, both his father and surrogate father just so happened to have fingerprints on her robot parts. which certainly cannot be good for Victor's already fragile level of trust in both. The big finale involves Robot Man and the Chief chasing after Dorothy to the moon in Niles' spare spaceship, which of course he's had since the 50s, and yeah, keeping with the theme that Niles is only half a decent inventor, he powers it off goat magic, because that's just the brand of weird craziness we come to know and love from Doom Patrol. Niles fears for his daughter's safety and the safety of the world, as the influence of the Candlemaker only grows inside her the more wishes that she makes. Niles also just so happens to say that Dorothy can't just traipse around the world with that kind of power and not expect consequences. Oh geez, Niles, I guess she really is your daughter in that case, isn't she? Cliff ultimately saves the day this time around, not by throwing a punch, but instead channeling some of that pent-up good dad energy he's been saving up for the last couple episodes. I'm sure you noticed too, but the little speech he gives Dorothy actually sounds a lot like one of the better Niles speeches, meaning Robot Man and the Chief kinda more or less switched positions this week, with Niles being the overly emotional one. Speaking of kids, and a confused Jane goes to Kay for help on what to do with the other personas. She's ultimately but understandably unhelpful, saying that hey, understanding is Jane's job after all. Jane still hopes she can save Sun Daddy and Baby Doll from the well, but she ends up getting vetoed by the return of the mysterious Miranda, who, like Jane, I don't trust right away, but from reading the book I feel that they may actually be going in a bit of a different direction overall. Miranda assumes control, and it looks like Jane is once again in the doghouse of the underground despite her very best efforts to try and please everybody. As the episode ends, Robot Man puts aside his animosity with Niles long enough to say that he's got a pretty good kid, and should the worst happen to him, maybe he could see himself being her much needed family. Too bad the Chief has other ideas though. Again, let us not forget this is a dude who was willing to hurt a lot of people in the pursuit of immortality, and which means he could be capable of just about anything in the pursuit of protecting his daughter. And so that was Space Patrol, and man, this was just a stacked episode from start to finish. Doom Patrol really is the TV equivalent of a 5-course meal sometimes. You get comedy, drama, character development, betrayal, all back-to-back in quick succession, but they never undercut each other. It also hits me too, unlike in Season 1 where the Find the Chief storyline was laser-focused, Season 2 seems to be doing a really good job at spinning a number of different story plates at once. I wonder at which point all of these are going to converge, if they ever do. It's 6 episodes in, and the team is still mostly unaware about the main villain, the Candlemaker, and I wonder how much longer they can do that for. Overall, though, I thought this was another excellent episode of TV. And so that'll just about do it for me and another week, everyone. I've been Cape Joel. Thank you so much for watching and listening. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, check out my links down below. You can follow me on Twitter so you never miss a new upload. I also have a Patreon page if you're feeling in a supportive mood, and hey, there's also my brand new Amazon link. You can buy stuff from there and support the creation of more videos just like this one. So until then, everyone, bye-bye.